Get out. You're broke. Victoria Harrington shouted as security escorted Charlotte Morgan out of the Grand Wellington Hotel. Guests turned, staring at the blonde woman in jeans and a bonnet, stumbling outside into the cold light of day. Minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up. Christopher Morgan, the hotel's new owner, had arrived and had just witnessed his wife's public humiliation. Charlotte tucked a loose strand of blonde hair behind her ear as she stepped out of the taxi. Pulling her black cap lower over her eyes, she gazed up at the glittering facade of the Grand Wellington Hotel. Crystal chandeliers sparkled through towering windows, casting a golden glow onto the marble steps where uniformed doormen stood stiffly at attention. She adjusted her burgundy sweater, smoothed the wrinkles in her worn jeans, and hoisted her modest canvas bag onto her shoulder. Charlotte looked nothing like the usual Grand Wellington guest, and that was exactly the point. Just observe, Christopher had told her that morning as he kissed her goodbye. I need honest eyes on this acquisition. The management doesn't know I'm sending you. They've never even met either of us. Christopher Morgan had built his hotel empire from the ground up, buying struggling properties and turning them into profitable jewels. The Grand Wellington was his latest purchase, a once prestigious establishment now faded and complacent despite its opulence. Taking a deep breath, Charlotte walked toward the entrance. The doormen exchanged quick glances, their polite smiles tightening as they took in her casual clothes. One reluctantly opened the door with a curt, "Welcome to the Grand Wellington." The tone said she didn't belong. Inside, the lobby was a testament to old-world luxury, marble floors, gilded mirrors, velvet furnishings. Well-dressed guests chatted quietly, their Louis Vuitton luggage and designer outfits making Charlotte's simple appearance stand out even more. At the reception desk, James Porter looked up from his computer. His professional smile faltered when he saw Charlotte. "May I help you?" he asked, skepticism creeping into his voice. "I'd like to see your rooms," Charlotte said warmly. "I'm interested in staying here." James's eyes flicked to her worn canvas bag, then back to her plain jeans. "Do you have a reservation, ma'am?" "Not yet. I wanted to check the accommodations first." His fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Our standard rooms start at $800 per night. Suites begin at $500. Charlotte nodded, unfazed. "That's fine. I'd still like to see what's available." Before James could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Is there a problem here?" Victoria Harrington, the hotel's director of operations, approached with measured steps. At 50, she embodied corporate elegance, a tailored black suit, a pearl necklace, not a strand of silver hair out of place. Her practiced smile didn't reach her cold eyes as she sized up Charlotte. "No problem," Charlotte replied, steady and calm. "I was just asking to see your available rooms." Victoria's gaze swept over Charlotte's clothes, her expression hardening. "James, I'll handle this." She turned to Charlotte, her smile tightening. "Ma'am, the Grand Wellington is a 5-star establishment. Our clientele expects certain standards." Charlotte met her gaze evenly. "I understand. I'm still interested." Victoria's smile disappeared. "Perhaps another hotel would better suit your budget. The Comfort Inn down the street offers very reasonable rates." The dismissal hung heavy in the air. Some nearby guests glanced over, some with embarrassment, others with thinly veiled amusement. Charlotte stood her ground. "I prefer to stay here, if that's all right." Victoria leaned in, voice lowered but sharp. "Let me be blunt. We cater to a specific clientele. Your appearance suggests you'd be more comfortable elsewhere." Charlotte's cheeks flushed, but she didn't flinch. "I assure you, the cost isn't an issue." Victoria arched a perfect brow. "Ma'am, this isn't about money. It's about maintaining our atmosphere. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual guests to attend to." As Victoria walked away, Charlotte overheard her mutter to James, "Keep an eye on her. She looks like she's casing the place." Charlotte wandered the public areas, noting every detail despite the growing coldness from staff. The Grand Wellington, though still grand in appearance, showed subtle signs of neglect, a chipped marble column here, a frayed carpet edge there. Service was slipping too, A waiter chatting with colleagues while ignoring guests, an unattended housekeeping cart in a main corridor. She took notes on her phone, mentally preparing the report for Christopher. The hotel had potential, but management was clearly complacent, more focused on appearances than genuine service. When Charlotte entered the hotel restaurant to inspect the dining facilities, a hostess stepped in her path. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The restaurant is fully booked for lunch," she said, despite numerous empty tables visible behind her. "I just wanted to look at the menu," Charlotte explained. "Our menus are for dining guests only," the hostess replied curtly. After 30 minutes of similar treatment throughout the hotel, Charlotte decided to check the pool area. As she approached the elevator, she caught Victoria Harrington watching her from across the lobby. Victoria whispered something to Eleanor Montgomery, the hospitality director, and pointed at Charlotte. Before Charlotte could reach the elevator, Victoria intercepted her with Eleanor and 2 security guards, Marcus Bailey and Nicole Peterson, close behind. "Ma'am, I need to speak with you," Victoria said coldly. "Several guests have expressed concern about your presence. Unless you're checking in now, I must ask you to leave." All eyes in the lobby turned toward them. "I haven't done anything wrong," Charlotte said calmly. "I'm considering booking a room." Victoria laughed shortly and dismissively. "Please. We both know that's not true." She gestured to the guards. "Escort this woman out." Marcus and Nicole stepped forward, flanking Charlotte. "This is unnecessary," Charlotte insisted. "I'm a potential guest touring the facilities." "A potential guest would have made an appointment," Victoria snapped. "A potential guest wouldn't wander around taking pictures and notes. A potential guest would be dressed appropriately." Charlotte's face burned. "Are you refusing me service because of my clothes?" Victoria's voice rose loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm refusing you service because you're disrupting our environment. The Grand Wellington has standards." Several onlookers gathered, including James and curious guests. The humiliation burned through Charlotte as the guards took her by the elbows. "Please come with us, ma'am," Marcus said firmly but gently. "This is ridiculous," Charlotte protested. "I want to speak to the manager." Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "I am the manager, and I've made my decision." As they walked Charlotte toward the exit, Victoria sneered. "This is a hotel for people who can afford luxury, not for window shopping or whatever you're doing. Next time, dress for the occasion." The lobby was silent, all eyes fixed on the scene. At the grand entrance, Victoria blocked Charlotte's path one last time, straightening her pearls. "We've had your type before," she said, condescending. "Coming in to gawk at how the other half lives. It's pathetic." Charlotte met her gaze evenly. "You might regret this." Victoria laughed coldly. "I doubt that very much." The doorman watched passively as security led Charlotte to the door. Victoria followed, intent on making a spectacle. A crowd of staff and guests gathered. Even the bartender abandoned his post to watch the drama. Victoria stepped forward for one final insult. "Let me be clear," she announced loudly, voice echoing through the now silent lobby. "The Grand Wellington is a premier establishment. We have celebrities, executives, and royalty as clients. We cannot accommodate," she waved dismissively at Charlotte's attire, "just anyone who wanders in off the street." Charlotte stood firm. "You're making a mistake." Victoria laughed coldly. "The only mistake was the doorman letting you in." She turned to the crowd with a theatrical sigh. "This happens sometimes. People think they can just walk in and experience luxury without paying for it." The guards shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am," Marcus began, "maybe we should get her out." Victoria snapped. "I have a meeting with the owner this afternoon. I won't have this place looking like a homeless shelter when he arrives." The guards resumed their positions. "Get out, you're broke," Victoria shouted loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. "Go find a motel that fits your budget." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even James looked uncomfortable, but no one intervened as Charlotte was gently but firmly pushed out. She stumbled but caught herself as the doors swung shut behind her. Outside, Charlotte took a deep breath of crisp autumn air. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, but a strange calm settled over her. Christopher needed to see this firsthand. The management wasn't just inefficient, They were hostile. She pulled out her phone and texted, "You won't believe what just happened." 2 minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up. Christopher Morgan stepped out, impeccably dressed, carrying himself with the quiet confidence of a self-made man. His eyes scanned Charlotte's face, reading the anger beneath her calm. "What happened, Charlie?" he asked, using his pet name. "I was thrown out," she replied steadily. "Apparently, I don't meet their standards." Christopher's jaw tightened. "Thrown out? By whom?" "The director of operations, Victoria Harrington. She called me broke and pathetic for trying to see how the other half lives." Christopher's voice dropped low and deadly calm. "Did you tell them who you are?" Charlotte shook her head. "That wasn't the plan. We agreed I'd observe how they treat ordinary guests." "Well," Christopher said, voice steady but cold, "I think we've seen enough. Get out, you're broke." Victoria Harrington's sharp voice echoed through the Grand Wellington Hotel lobby as security escorted Charlotte Morgan out. Guests watched in stunned silence as the blonde woman, dressed simply in jeans and a burgundy sweater, stumbled onto the pristine sidewalk. Minutes later, a sleek black sedan rolled up. Christopher Morgan, the hotel's new owner, had arrived and had just witnessed his wife's public humiliation. Charlotte tucked a stray lock of blonde hair behind her ear, pulling her black cap lower over her eyes as she stepped out of the taxi. Her gaze swept the Grand Wellington's grand facade. Gleaming crystal chandeliers sparkled through towering windows, casting a golden glow on the marble floors and velvet drapes. Uniformed doormen stood like statues, poised and immaculate. She smoothed her worn jeans and hoisted her modest canvas bag over her shoulder. She looked nothing like the usual guests, exactly as Christopher intended. "Just observe," he had told her that morning. "I need honest eyes on this acquisition. The management doesn't know I'm sending you. They've never met either of us." Christopher Morgan built his hotel empire from nothing, acquiring struggling properties and turning them into jewels of luxury. The Grand Wellington was his latest prize, a once-celebrated establishment now fallen into disrepair, hiding cracks beneath its polished exterior. Charlotte took a deep breath and approached the entrance. The doormen exchanged uneasy glances as they took in her casual attire. One finally opened the door with a clipped, "Welcome to the Grand Wellington," as if she were a mistake. Inside, the lobby was a shrine to old-world opulence. Marble floors gleamed beneath gilded mirrors, velvet armchairs invited the elite, and well-dressed guests flaunted Louis Vuitton luggage and designer clothes. Charlotte's simple outfit made her stick out like a sore thumb. At the reception desk, a young man named James Porter glanced up, his polite smile faltering at the sight of her. "May I help you?" he asked, skepticism lacing his voice. "I'd like to see your rooms," Charlotte said warmly. "I'm interested in staying here." James's eyes flicked from her worn bag to her jeans. "Do you have a reservation, ma'am?" "Not yet," she replied. "I wanted to check the accommodations first." James hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Our standard rooms start at $800 per night. Suites begin at $2,500. Charlotte nodded, unfazed. "That's fine. I'd still like to see what's available." Before James could respond, a sharp voice interrupted. "Is there a problem here?" Victoria Harrington, the hotel's director of operations, approached, radiating corporate poise in a tailored black suit and pearl necklace. Her practiced smile didn't reach her cold eyes as she assessed Charlotte. "No problem," Charlotte said, steady but firm. "I was just asking to see your available rooms." Victoria's gaze swept over Charlotte's casual clothes, hardening instantly. "James, I'll handle this." Turning to Charlotte, Victoria's tone was clipped and patronizing. "The Grand Wellington is a five-star establishment. Our clientele expects certain standards." Charlotte met her gaze evenly. "I understand. I'm still interested in seeing the rooms." Victoria's smile tightened, almost a sneer. "Perhaps another hotel would better suit your budget. The Comfort Inn down the street offers reasonable rates." The dismissal hung in the air. Nearby guests glanced over, some embarrassed, others amused. Charlotte stood her ground. "I'd prefer to stay here, if that's all right." Victoria's smile vanished. Leaning in, Lowering her voice, she whispered with venom. Let me be blunt. We cater to a specific clientele. Your appearance suggests you'd be more comfortable elsewhere. Charlotte felt her cheeks flush, but held her composure. I assure you, cost is not the issue. Victoria raised a perfect eyebrow. Ma'am, this isn't about money. It's about maintaining our atmosphere. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual guests to attend to. As she turned, Victoria murmured to James, keep an eye on her. She looks like she's casing the place. Charlotte wandered through the hotel, noting subtle signs of decline. A chipped marble column here, a frayed carpet edge there. Service was slipping too. She spotted a waiter ignoring guests in the lobby bar, chatting instead with colleagues. She jotted notes on her phone, mentally preparing her report for Christopher. The hotel had potential, but complacency and snobbery were suffocating it. At the restaurant, a hostess barred her way. The restaurant is fully booked for lunch, she said curtly, despite numerous empty tables. Charlotte tried to view the menu. Our menus are for dining guests only, the hostess replied sharply. After half an hour of similar treatment, Charlotte headed to the pool area. But Victoria was already watching her from across the lobby, whispering to Eleanor Montgomery, the director of hospitality, and pointing. Before Charlotte could reach the elevator, Victoria intercepted her, flanked by security guards Marcus Bailey and Nicole Peterson. Ma'am, I need to speak with you, Victoria said icily. Several guests have expressed concern about your presence. Unless you're checking in now, I must ask you to leave. All eyes turned to Charlotte. I haven't done anything wrong, she said calmly. I'm considering booking a room. Victoria laughed, dismissive. Please. We both know that's not true. She gestured to the guards. Escort this woman out. Marcus and Nicole moved in, flanking Charlotte. This is unnecessary, Charlotte protested. I'm a potential guest touring the facilities. A potential guest would have made an appointment, Victoria snapped, and wouldn't be wandering around taking pictures and notes. A potential guest would be dressed appropriately. Charlotte's face flushed with anger. Are you refusing me service because of how I'm dressed? Victoria's voice rang out loud enough for all to hear. I'm refusing service because you're disrupting our environment. The Grand Wellington has standards to maintain. The lobby had gathered a crowd, guests, staff, even James the receptionist. Humiliated, Charlotte was gently but firmly escorted to the exit. This is ridiculous, she said. I want to speak to the manager. Victoria's smile turned razor-sharp. I am the manager, and I've made my decision. As they pushed her toward the revolving doors, Victoria's final words cut like a knife. This is a hotel for those who can afford luxury, not window shoppers. Maybe next time, dress for the occasion. The lobby fell silent except for Victoria's condescending parting shot. We've had your type before. It's pathetic. Charlotte met her gaze squarely. You might regret this. Victoria laughed coldly. I doubt that very much. Outside, Charlotte caught her breath. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, but beneath it all, a calm resolve settled over her. Christopher needed to see this firsthand. She pulled out her phone and texted, You won't believe what just happened. The reply came instantly, 2 minutes away. Before she could respond, Christopher stepped out of his sedan, radiating quiet power in an impeccably tailored navy suit. What happened, Charlie? He asked, using his pet name. I was thrown out, she said steadily. They said I don't meet their standards. Called me pathetic for trying to see how the other half lives. Christopher's jaw clenched. Did you tell them who you are? No. That wasn't the plan. We agreed I'd observe how they treat ordinary guests, he said quietly. Well, I think we've seen enough. Inside, Victoria Harrington stood frozen as Christopher Morgan revealed the truth to the assembled staff. That woman you had escorted out? My wife. The woman you told to get out because she's broke. The woman you called pathetic for wanting to experience the Grand Wellington. Victoria's face shifted from shock to horror. Mr. Morgan, I had no idea. Exactly, Christopher interrupted. You judged her by her appearance and treated her with contempt. Is that the standard here? Victoria's professional facade crumbled. Sir, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, he said sharply. You failed to recognize basic human dignity. And that is unforgivable. He turned to Eleanor Montgomery. You stood by and watched this happen. Eleanor had no reply. Christopher addressed the staff. We need a company-wide meeting immediately. In the conference room, tension hung heavy as Christopher spoke. I acquired this hotel because I believed in its potential. The Grand Wellington once symbolized true hospitality. Those days are gone. He fixed Victoria with a cold stare. Miss Harrington, you failed not just my wife, but every guest who doesn't fit your narrow idea of worth. You failed at hospitality. Victoria's voice trembled. Mr. Morgan, I've devoted 20 years to luxury hospitality. Give me a chance to make this right. You've had that chance every day, Christopher cut in. You chose status over service. Appearance over authenticity. He turned to the room. How many potential guests have been turned away because they didn't look right? How many have left feeling less than human? No one. Silence. Christopher's assistant handed out folders. Inside are termination notices for Victoria, Eleanor, and the 2 security officers involved. Front desk staff, who did nothing, are on probation. Victoria gasped. You can't be serious. I am, Christopher said coldly. The rest of you have a choice. Embrace true hospitality or leave. Victoria stood abruptly. This is outrageous. I've managed 5-star hotels worldwide. This was no misunderstanding, Christopher replied. It was a failure of character. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. As Victoria stormed out, Christopher announced the interim manager, Thomas Reynolds from Chicago, who would start immediately. He gestured to Charlotte. My wife and I built our company on one principle. Everyone deserves respect, no matter their appearance. That will be the standard here.